Hello class, and welcome to the tuning in video for week 9 on early rap and hip-hop, particularly gangster rap, such as things like NWA's Straight Outta Compton. Now we're not going to be looking at Straight Outta Compton today because there are other videos that will be doing it, but we will be looking at an influential song in early rap that really was sampled a lot and influential in shaping rap to be what we know of it today. And that would be Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five's track, The Message. So let's dive into why The Message is so significant. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about the history and the impact of The Message. Now, we did talk about Grandmaster Flash in the Soundbites video, so I'm not going to go over the artist himself. But for the significance of the song, The Message charted a musically rich, socially conscious new path for the genre of rap and hip-hop. Now, although it's under the name Grandmaster Flash, like if you search on Spotify and whatnot, the song actually isn't primarily produced or written by Grandmaster Flash, but rather by the rappers Ed Duke Booty Fletcher and Melly Mel rapping on the track, and produced by Jigs Chase, who is another one of the Furious Five. Now, at first, Grandmaster Flash didn't really have any involvement, and he didn't want to release the track because he thought it was too slow of tempo and not, up-tempo enough, and the subject matter was too heavy to play in the average club. It would be considered too heavy and turn off average clubgoers. Now, while its primary purpose wasn't the sort of feel-good rap that you saw in other corners of Grandmaster Flash's work, it does remain one of the most influential and most sampled tracks of all time for hip-hop. So it's been sampled 328 times in different tracks, according to WhoSampled.com, including artists such as Ice Cube, Tupac Shakur, Atmosphere, Usher, Mos Def, Pharrell Williams, and Immortal Technique. The Message is also considered to have inaugurated the subgenre known as conscious rap, that is a rap with a searing, poignant, biting social commentary that is often critical of the status quo and a proponent for social justice and equity. Now let's talk about the musical aspects of The Message, focusing on just the general instrumental beat. We'll get to sort of the rap and lyrics focus later on. So to talk about rhythm of course is quite an important part of rap and hip-hop as a genre. So the rhythm here primarily consists of the drum machine plus a synth bass with a kick and clap beat that emphasizes the backbeats, just like a rock beat. So here I want to emphasize that although not every hip-hop beat will necessarily map onto rock, in early rap and hip-hop we did see this be the case, basically importing a rock type of beat, but instead of played on a standard acoustic drum set, being played on drum machine and synth bass. So this beat of dun, gat, dun, dun, gat, dun, gat, dun, 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 gat, that could be a rock beat that's played on a drum set. Alright, now I get to introduce one of my favorite words, and that is hypermeter. So what hypermeter refers to is the rhythm of basically how the measures in a song sort themselves out, usually into even groupings like 2, 4, 8, 16, and so on. So when you feel sort of a regular recurrence of measures or groups of measures, then that's called a hypermeter. So for the 2-measure hypermeter, you have this looped bass line. Dun 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 dun. Then it goes again. Dun 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 dun. Done. So every 2 measures you have a grouping that's emphasized by the recurrence of that bass line. Now a lot of times we get these nested hypermetric groupings, such as 2 groups of 2 measures that add up to 1 grouping of 4 measure. And that's because every 4th measure you get this triplet hi-hat fill that comes in. Ta 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 ta. So if it's 1 da 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 dun 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 da dun dun. Then measure 3 da da dun 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 da dun. Da, 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 da. So there's a little hi-hat fill with triplets that marks every 4th measure. So that marks a 4-measure hypermetric grouping. Now that hi-hat triplet creates a polyrhythm that plays against the prevailing straight 8th note. So so 8th and 16th, and then triplet, triplet, so that creates this polyrhythm where it sticks out over and against the straight 8th notes from the rest of the track. So in terms of the rap flow, we have here a mostly on grid with the 16th notes, meaning it's very much sort of lining up with the beat. It's like a jungle sometimes. Keep from going. So it has that constant sort of 16-note pulse. There's a light amount of syncopation, but it's not really a lot to be noticed until at least the chorus. So this is typical of early rap. You don't see a lot of like playing with going over the bar line or using a triplet flow like Migos, or just sort of in general blurring the tempo and the pace like MF Doom or Kendrick Lamar. You don't really see that in these early rap examples. Now in verse 5 you do though get some offbeat syncopation where this particular line starts to place the emphasis off of the main beat, so not as on the grid as other verses, and that is smugglers, scramblers, burglars, gamblers, and then it goes on sort of this and where it's always sort of off the beat, and so that makes this particular line have more rhythmic energy. Now finally, to talk about the chorus, you have a double tresillo variant. So you might remember back from week 1 where we talked about the tresillo being this 3 plus 3 plus 2 rhythm. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. So first it sounds like it's going to start with a tresillo. Don't push me. 3 3 2 like that. But then it follows up with a double tresillo. 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. So it goes, don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. So all those like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. It gives a high degree of syncopation in the chorus specifically. A lot of forward momentum, a lot of groove there because of that. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about melody, which is going to be pretty short because melody is not the driving parameter in this song. That's because rap traditionally doesn't employ conventional pitch and melody like some of the songs that we've listened to. However, we should mention that melody is still appropriate to refer to the rap portion because it's foregrounded. It's that melodic layer, the part that our ears are keen to pay attention to. In terms of pitched material, you do have this synthesizer hook, which plays pretty regularly. It plays the role of a traditional melody. It's ascending arpeggiated and then coming down descending, so it has a wave-like contour. And it kind of repeats that going up and down between the rap verses and the choruses. Now, despite the fact that the rap is not really on pitch, you do actually have some contour and some peaks in the rap verses. And that is parts where the rapper's voice actually goes up a bit to give it more emphasis and like the role of a traditional peak. So a classic example that comes up multiple times in this song is, it's like a jungle sometimes. So there's slightly higher on the jungle part. And another example comes in verse 1 where you have rats in the front room, roaches in the back. So again, just a little bit of a vocal declamation where there's a slight peak to the contour. It's not just all monotone on a single pitch, even though it's not sung in a traditional sense. Next, let's talk about harmony, which again is not really the driving feature of this track. So we have here a one chord loop, which is just a way of saying we have a repeating bass line, like we saw in Michael Jackson, that doesn't really move from the chord that it's articulating. So the one chord loop just means it's tied to a repeating bass ostinato, ostinato being a fancy music theory way of saying a repeated riff. Dun 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 dun. So that would be the repeated figure, and it keeps just looping like that. So this kind of gives you a sense of having a landscape, and you're just moving through the landscape, but it's not so much of a trajectory going from point A to point B, such as just being in a place. Now, in terms of the other chord function in articulating the harmony, you do have a synthesizer which is sort of playing the role of imitating an electric guitar, such as in jazz with the staccato comping on these tall jazz chords. Now, by comping, what I mean is it sort of comes in with these little comments like blim, dalim, blim. Like, so it's not really part of the main beat, but it'll just give commentary from time to time. Harmonically, the main chord loop generally gives the sound of the minor mode, which contributes to a sense of dark melancholy. And there's a pervasive repeat of the harmony just over and over again, where the entire song doesn't really change key, doesn't even change chord, which creates a feeling of being stuck in place. Now, as we'll see when we get to the form and the lyrics part, it actually ties into the message, pun intended, of the song that is sort of being stuck in this environment. Let's go ahead and listen to an excerpt where you'll hear the rhythm, melody, and harmony at work in the main instrumental loop of the piece.
It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under.